Ladies and gentlemen, I am your Destiny Dad, and welcome back to another Workday Speedrun Inventory Review video. It is Tuesday in the weekly reset. The final Iron Banner of the season has just ended, so for anybody who maybe missed something, I know I personally did not get a fantastic roll of the Scout Rifle, which I am sad about. It's kind of a rip until September, I believe, is when Iron Banner is slated to come back again. So, but with that being said, let's see what Banshee and Ada have for us this week. Maybe even take a peek at Eververse. So for our lovely friend Banshee here, we have the Snorri FR5 as our first item. We do have compulsive reloader and high impact reserves. We have projection fuse and polygonal rifling, as well as full bore and range masterwork. Now, that honestly, that is not a bad roll for PvP. I think compulsive reloader is very much slept on. I also don't think that it is the best perk in the game. However, on an energy weapon like this in PvP, you're probably not going to run into using that perk all too often, just because of the state of the ammo economy. But that being said, this is a pretty, I'd say this is like a solid 4.5 out of 5 roll for PvP. Up next, we have the Enigma. This actually might kind of cook a little bit in Edge of Fate. For anybody who doesn't know, melees are kind of getting reworked, and basically everything is kind of being set to 0, so currently everything kind of multiplies everything else, which is why Bungie has made it so that nothing works with anything. Like, you can only have one melee buff, and your subclass buffs don't work with your exotic buffs, and glaives don't work with melee buffs, and all of that, which is really annoying because melees get out of hand really fast. But what they're doing is they're removing the multiplication feature. So if my melee does 100 damage and I get Liar's Handshake, that increases my damage by 30%, and then I use the I forget the name of the melee, but if you know Liar's Handshake and the Hunter melee, you'll know the one I'm talking about. Those don't, it's not like 30% plus 15%, it is 30% times 15%, and everything multiplies the damage numbers one on top of the other, which is why it gets so broken so fast. What they're doing is basically kind of nerfing base melee damage kind of across the board. They're bumping up a couple ones that are just not used at all, but what they're allowing is for everything to work with everything. So you can have combination blow, that's the name of the perk. You can have Liar's Handshake and combination blow and facet of protection and 1-2 punch and all of that all at the same time. And when you get all of that rolling, you can swap to a glaive, and your glaive will benefit from all of that going, and it will be able to stack. Mathematically, it should be higher. So stuff like this where Grave Robber and even Rampage, like you look at Rampage on a glaive and it's like, oh, that's kind of stupid. All of this is going to start working for the poke of a glaive. So if you're a glaive enjoyer, weird quirky rolls like this that you look at now and think, oh, that's kind of garbage, keep an eye on them. That being said, the Enigma is craftable as always, so these perks can be enhanced, and you might even be able to find some different perks that work a little better for what you wanted to. Overall though, this is definitely worth a save, I think, if you have ample space in your vault, on the case that it might work out pretty great in the Edge of Fate. Up next, we have the Sail Spy Pitch Glass. This is actually one of the best rolls that this thing can get, which is not fantastic, sadly, but it is pretty decent. The only thing I would say would maybe be Arrowhead or Charge Time Masterwork. Either one of those would probably improve this a little bit, but overall, if you need an arc linear and you don't have access to any others. I'm trying to think of the others that would be in the game right now. I'm actually not sure of other arc linears. There has to be some, right? I know that I'm missing some. Line in the Sand, that's a really good one. But if you don't have access to Line in the Sand and you can pick this up, it is craftable, of course. And you can also craft it with Frenzy and Vorpal. So if you don't like Focus Fury, you can go with that. And it also can be crafted with Clown Cartridge. So if you prefer Clown Cartridge to Rapid Hit, you can go for that as well. Next we have Retrofit Escapism. This thing used to be the meta for a good minute and still is a really solid machine gun. But the only role you really want to care about is tap the trigger and... is it triple tap or fourth times? Fourth time's the charm, I believe, right? Let's see. Yes. So this role, probably not one that you're going to care about, outside of maybe if you are using it for an ad clear machine gun, but I don't think most people are going to use a 900 RPM as an ad clear machine gun. But to each their own. I think it's a nice looking weapon, it's a good feeling weapon, and I think it's just a fun weapon overall. Again, another craftable weapon with much better rolls than this, but this is an interesting roll to say the least. Up next we have Huskow. One of the OGs, one of my old favorites, Snapshot Cluster, high velocity rounds. Actually, maybe not a terrible PvP roll. If you're looking for like a decent PvP rocket, I'm still team LMG for PvP heavy outside of Truth. Like if I'm not running an exotic in any of my slots, like if I've got like Inquisitor and Aishas, which is a pretty default loadout for me, I'll definitely run Truth as my exotic because it's just fun and the buffs are really good to it. But if you're looking for a solid PvP rocket, that definitely is like a 4.5 out of 5, I'd say. I'm sure there's other better options out there, but this is for sure good. And last but not least, we have the piece, we have the Path of Least Resistance. This is actually a really good roll. Wow, most of the rolls are actually really solid, and what like isn't super strong is like craftable, and it still is pretty decent. Dragonfly and stats are all just perfect synergy. I will say that this thing can get Volt Shot. Is that the one that can get? I believe it can get Volt Shot, and it is craftable, which means it's enhanceable, and Volt Shot is probably just a little bit better than Dragonfly. But overall, even if you don't craft this is a really solid roll. Dragonfly has kind of been power crapped a little bit, but I still like it. I still think it's a fun perk on a bunch of different weapons. With all that being said, let's head on over to Miss Ada1 and see what she's brought for us this week.
How can I help?
Alrighty, here in Ada1 we do have the Dead End Cure Old Dead Orbit armor, if I'm not mistaken, for the Hunter, with your arms having a base of 54. It does have a 20 discipline spike, which is not bad. Well, your chest is a base of 53 and you have resilience and discipline as spikes. Helmet is 56 with a mobility and discipline spike. And boots are 56 with a strength spike and not too much else. So arms, chest, and helmet, if you're a new player, maybe a returning player, or maybe you're just working on a grenade build and you don't have enough discipline and the spikes line up for you, these three together will give you like a decent, what is that, 65-ish discipline just off these three pieces of armor after a masterwork. So that's more than half your grenade stat currently, and a couple mods, and you got that cooking. For our shaders this week, oh my god, I haven't seen this thing in years. Shadow Guild, this was from Season of Opulence, and I believe it was a shader from Doing Triumphs, if I'm not mistaken. Very muted purple on a lot of gray, black, silvery kind of color, and a lot of gold. Very nice shader, definitely worth a pickup. We have the Worn Echoes of Io. I believe we had this last week or week before last. Very nice bone color, a little yellow, little blue here and there. Very nice color. I miss Io. Shout out in the comments if you miss Io too. And then we have War Cult Camo. I usually don't like the War Cult shaders because of so much yellow, but this is very nice actually. It's a very pretty shader. I like that. For our warlocks, we have the Hyro Camo armor, and I will be showing you guys the stats on screen currently. Feel free to pause and check them out. Got a few spikes here and there, but nothing too crazy. And for our Titans this week, we have the, I believe this is retrograde? Yeah, retrograde. Oh, hang on. That's loaded in. Ooh, actually a banger chest piece, not gonna lie. Decent helmet. And legs. Now with all that being said, this video is going to go up late. I was trying to get it done before my lunch break was over. And I'm just about to hit end record, and then I'm gonna put my shoes on and run out the door. So in a few hours, this will go up. It'll probably be up around 4:35 depending. So it'll be late today, and I apologize. But what can you do, you know? But anyway, thank you all for watching. If you watched to the end, please be sure to drop a like before you head off. If you are new, or if you just enjoy the content, please be sure to leave a follow. It's huge and super duper supports me and helps me want to keep going, which I appreciate. I love you all to death. Have a good week, Guardians, and I will see you guys next time.